What's up, folks? Got another quick message here. I'm going to keep this really, really short. Long story short, is the X-Wing meta solved? No. The obvious, quick, and easy answer is no. And I'm very confident about that, even saying that I'm not even going to put a date on this, not going to say which meta is solved. Um, but just over time, we've got more and more ships and more upgrades and more combination of things we can do, especially now with different play types. They're okay, I dated it. There's now missions. Um, there's no way the X-Wing meta is solved. We've had a couple very successful lists and a few very successful pilots that have really dominated a few events, but then we've also seen some counter lists come into play. And it seems like every other tournament, we're seeing some surprise thing pop out of the weeds from a different faction. Like now, FO is winning tournaments. We had a scum list win the other day. Ooh, I'll talk more about that later. Um, but yeah, it's wild. Just as one quick note on something we do have, though, is that in the X-Wing community, we've built this fantastic, very social community. We've got the Reddit, we've got the Discords, we've got Facebook, we've got the podcasters, we've got all of these different pieces of information, including some really good statistics sites that I'll talk through at some point as well, that show us all this information to confirm kind of our biases. Scum is bad. How do we know? It's not winning any tournaments. What's the played win rate? It's fairly low because people are kind of playing it because they want to. Raithos just put out and I'll link to this. Raithos just put out another really long podcast. By the way, buddy, if by some chance you end up watching this, it's really long. 2 hours is a lot. You almost put poor Paul Heaver to sleep there. It was fantastic though, and I don't know what part I would cut out. But one of the parts that really stuck out to me was that it's both of you guys talking about your local play groups, talking about all the play testing you've done, but how much in like 2 sentences, you went from scum is bad, scum is unsuccessful, scum is an uphill battle to I really wish more players were running scum, more list builders were trying this stuff out, because then we'd have things to iterate off of and list build off of, which just goes to show we have this enormous hive mind that can really put together some cool lists and experiment with this stuff and try things out. But if it's actively being discouraged or the like really kind of creative list builders aren't in there playing around, then we're not going to get anything out of it. So that's one of the reasons that the community is actually in kind of a rough spot right now, just because we have a bit of a conventional wisdom problem. If you jump onto the Reddit or the Discord or any of these discussion groups and say, hey, I'm experimenting with this thing, what do you think? 9 times out of 10, the first reply you're going to get is, don't do that, do this instead, and feedback one of the competitive lists that's already winning or an upgrade that's already kind of been tried, or kind of taking that list and pushing it back towards kind of a tried and true version or a tried and familiar version even, which is something we should actively avoid. So kind of your two different list building groups, you've got your creative, arguably masochist like me who like losing just to try out new stuff. And then you have the majority of players who just want to play something, whether it's a ship that you really like or whether it's something that you just want to try out. You find a tournament winning list or something someone recommended, you pick it up, you fly it, whatever. No shame whatsoever on that. You play how you want to play. But for those of us who do like to experiment with lists and kind of play around with this stuff, we have to really check our biases and double check and actually put in the experimentation and not be so ready to kind of give up on stuff. And certainly not look at something new and try to dial it back to what's already been seen. Because there's so much stuff out there that isn't being experimented with that we haven't really gone into. And I am very excited to jump into scum meta discussion, which I'll be doing in my future videos. But yeah, so just say, hey, keep trying to list build, keep flying stuff, keep getting weird and experimental, not necessarily at tournaments, but try things, talk about it, see if you can find that winning combo that's really going to knock everyone's socks off and be the next one to shock the meta. Just saying. Appreciate the time, and we'll talk again soon.